Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining our panel discussion on teaching leadership through artificial intelligence. I would like to start by welcoming my esteemed colleagues, Najwa Faris from Rafiq Hariri University, Lebanon, Martin Parsons from Hanan University, Japan, and Michael Garant from City University of Macau. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
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 I am Muriel Al-Haj, Assistant Professor and Director of Lusail University Press from Lusail University, Qatar. I'll be moderating this session. We will start by providing a brief overview about the panel. Then my fellow panelists will deliver their presentations, and then we will get your questions to answer them. And we will close with some closing remarks and with future recommendations. This panel, based on its title, will address the topic of artificial intelligence as transformative partner in education. It will be focused on how AI develops future-ready leadership skills and how it enables criticality, autonomy, cultural intelligence, which are mandatory and very essential skills for our future graduates. It will also address some ethical considerations in educational AI, and my fellow panelists will also provide you with innovative case studies about an exchange between China and Japan that we will talk in detail in a short while. Our first presentation will be delivered by Najwa Faris, who is an academic coordinator and professor of languages and liberal arts units at Rafiq Hariri University, Lebanon. She is specialized in English communication, English for specific purposes, intercultural communication, academic integrity. She published internationally on collaborative learning, plagiarism, student motivation, and she is recognized for excellence in teaching and curriculum innovation. Najwa will be talking about empowering student leadership with artificial intelligence, enhancing research, writing, and professional skills. We are listening, Najwa.
Okay. Thank you so much for this introduction. And I'm happy to be with you all. I will be sharing my presentation. And as you said, I'm going to share my experience about empowering students. Yeah. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So empowering student leadership with AI. In this short presentation, I will be talking about the evolving role of educators and the conception of education, my classroom experience briefly, how I used AI as a research and the writing assistant, and also as a resume optimizer, and I will end with pedagogical impact on student leadership. So let me, as an educator, I feel like our role as educator has evolved with time. From sage on the stage, although I was not the sage, I was the bucket to be filled with information then, to guide on this side with learner-centered approaches and the classrooms, where students become more active learners, constructing their knowledge with the educator or with the instructor. And with the rise of social constructivism and Vygotsky's zones of proximal development, the learner becomes not only constructing knowledge with the educator or himself or herself, but also with more able peer. And to our age with AI, now AI invaded every aspect of our life, including education. And I will be talking only about one feature, one way of using AI as educators, which is like to complement the constructive learning, where the AI can help students co-construct their learning together with their more knowledgeable peers. As the role of educators has evolved, so has the education itself. So from knowledge-based education, focus on mastery of learning and what students know, to skill-based knowledge where application is necessary, and the students, we emphasize what students can do with whatever we are teaching, to more recently, we're moving into competency-based, where we have integration of knowledge, skills, and values, and emphasis on who students become. Having said that, now I'll move to my classroom experience, how I use the AI. Briefly, I would say I come from a very small-sized English-speaking private university in Lebanon. It has 3 main colleges: business, engineering, arts, and sciences. Almost all its programs are accredited, and my intervention was done in a course called Professional English Communication course. This course is required by all students, and the main objective is to prepare students for the workplace. So students learn about workplace communication, including proposal writing, research proposal, and resume writing. So how I used AI? In 2 ways. AI, ChatGPT as a research writing assistant, and also ChatGPT and Career Flow as resume optimizer. To start with, you see, I did not want the ChatGPT to do the work for the students, but to co-construct their learning. For that reason, students were encouraged to use the ChatGPT to provide real-time feedback, to get suggestions, and supporting them in much the same way as their more knowledgeable peer do. So with the rise of AI, as you know, and the absence of software that we have that detect plagiarism at our university, I demanded the students to write their research proposal in steps, focusing on the process, just to guarantee that the students are doing the work and not the AI or somebody else. So the students were supposed to present the research proposals in steps, representing the process of writing. In the first step, they have the planning, they give me the working title, the problem statement, the aim, the rationale, the context, plus using 2 sources to back up the background. Then in the second step, methodology, research question. And the last step, it is where they have to write their full proposal, drafting, several drafts, revising before their, and proofreading before their submission. Now, where the AI was used, after each step, especially step 1, they submitted to me because they had to get my approval. I check it and I give them feedback. They revise it based on my feedback, and then I ask them to use the ChatGPT to get their feedback from ChatGPT using the prompt frameworks. After they get the feedback, they needed to critically evaluate the AI output with peer, because we know the output not necessarily can be accurate. And they decide what to adopt or reject in a research log. And then they discuss their evaluation decision with me before, and then they finalize, move to the next step. This is done in the three steps. And what was the learning outcome, the highlights of it, that the students involved in critical thinking, because they were evaluating the AI and the human feedback, collaborating with peers, the teacher in conferencing, and the AI. They had this autonomy because they were leading the revision, and it was their decision to adopt, what to reject, or to adopt from the evaluation. And definitely leadership, because they were coordinating the peer and the A insights under definitely my supervision. Now, in the second way, they use the AI tools, the ChatGPT or Career Flow as resume optimizers. As you know, probably that nowadays, all the resumes are initially screened by ATS-powered systems. So only those resumes that pass that initial screening are forwarded to a human recruiter. So here, I wanted my students to write resumes that can be immediately guaranteed that they can get the job they want. For that reason, they were asked to use the AI tools to optimize their resume, not to write their resumes, but to make sure that the resumes passes the ATS scanning, the screening. And in both ways, in the way I used, whether it's a resume optimizer or writing research assistant, the students were actively shaping knowledge, constructing their knowledge rather than receiving it. And all of this was done through the integration of the AI suggestion, the peer feedback, and definitely my own guidance and feedback. So in conclusion, I would say that the AI tools complemented rather than replaced my instruction. In fact, and the peer learning in my classroom, in fact, it enriched it. And it empowered my students by having their autonomy, critical thinking, digital literacy, and prepared them for real-world collaboration and leadership environments where the human and AI is a key. These are the bibliography that I used, and any questions I would love to get. Thank you. I hope I met the time.
Thank you so much, Najwa. No, you were, the time you used maybe less. Thank you so much.
Great, because I was practicing to meet the time.
Thank you so much for this insightful presentation where you highlighted how AI is used an assistive tool to students as a co-constructor of knowledge, and how you use ChatGPT in communication and research writing, and also resume optimization for students, and how these can promote autonomy, critical thinking, and leadership skills, which are very much needed for the workplace nowadays. Thank you so much, Najwa. Of course, we will get back to you when we will start the Q&A section. Now we have, thank you so much. Now we have a second presentation. Actually, it's going to be the second and the third presentation, which are very complementary. The first presentation will be delivered by Martin Parsons, who is professor at Hanan University, Osaka. His research interests focus on interculturality, multimodality, and digital literacy. He's a specialist in digital production for language learning, and he led innovative project combining digital storytelling, video production, and AI-enabled language learning. And then we have Michael Garant, who is professor of English at City University of Macau. His research interests include translation, intercultural communication, ELT, virtual exchange. He's a former Japanese national scholar, and he is an international visiting professor and collaborator. They will both discuss how they integrated AI in an intercultural virtual exchange, and how they use AI to build leadership through collaboration and creativity. We are listening. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let me share my screen now with you. Okay. Is that on the screen for everybody to see?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. Well, I've just been introduced, and so is Michael, but here we are. I'm from Hanan University in Osaka in Japan. So good evening, everybody. At least it's evening here in Japan. So if you're online somewhere else, maybe good morning. And as has just been explained, we're going to discuss a collaboration that we've been working on between universities here in Japan and China over a period of time. I'd like to talk a little bit about the background to this project, and maybe focus on why it is that we decided to try to integrate AI, and to think about the kind of benefits that that can bring. And following that, Mike will come on, and he's going to share with you some of our more recent findings. So our project began, I think, in what I could probably call a sort of a traditional asynchronous virtual exchange. And our students would make small groups in the classroom to create videos, short English language videos on various topics of cultural interest for their own country. And that could be things like their daily routines, environmental issues, local food, anything like that that would give them a chance to interact. And of course, our main aims here were to give our students, who rarely have a chance to travel abroad and meet other people, a chance to collaborate, to have some kind of peer interaction from people in another country with an authentic reason for discussing with each other, not simply doing something out of a textbook or some sort of thing, but actually sharing digital artifacts. As a research focus, we've looked at several things, including, of course, intercultural community of competence, digital literacy, multimodality, and so on. And the kind of challenges I think we faced along the way were trying to help our students learn to create videos, to edit videos, and of course, then coordinating our different time zones. Between China and Japan, not a huge time zone difference, but our school calendars are somewhat different. We teach on different days at different times. So these were some difficulties that we have faced at different times along the way. So AI is something I think that we're all talking about now, and it seems to me that it really came at us very quickly shortly after the pandemic, when I guess most of us in education were still negotiating online learning platforms and various digital tools for education. And I have to admit, at the time, it was a little bit daunting for me. And I was quite wary of AI. I was hearing stories of how, students were simply asking ChatGPT to write their essays and so forth. And I was wondering, how can we use AI? How is it appropriate to use it? And this is what, when I was a boy, would have been called the $64,000 question, the thing that everybody wants to know the answer to, but nobody seems to have that answer. And then some months ago, a friend of mine in an email sent me a short video generated by an AI tool. And I'd like to show that to you because it's very short.
So I went to the zoo the other day, and all they had was one dog. It was a Shih Tzu.
Now, that's the whole thing. It's a silly joke, but it looks pretty realistic. And I remember when I watched it, I thought, okay, I can see that it's been generated by AI, but it looks really good. So I wrote back to my friend. I thought he had actually created it. And I asked him how he did it. And he had found this prompt, which was used in the tool called VO3. It simply says, a man with dad bod doing stand-up comedy in a small venue tells a dad joke. And I was really surprised, I must admit. I was very surprised that such a simple prompt could generate such a sophisticated video. So Mike and I started to think about this, and what do we do with this kind of technology, and how can we use that to help our students? And I guess now, not just a $64,000 question in the modern world when there's so much money floating around, I guess it's a $64 billion question now. But we started to think, how can we answer that question? And at its heart, the work that we do, Mike and I in particular, is based on foreign language education and really about communication. And we started to think, if AI can generate the kind of videos that we just saw there, can we not give our students more time to focus on their language skills, their communication skills, rather than learning how to edit videos, which, by the way, is an excellent skill to have, but we only have so many lessons in a semester. So giving them more time to focus on their language education, their communication skills, seemed a good idea to us. And right from the start, we took the idea, and I think we've heard this already, the idea that the AI will collaborate with the students, but not replace them, that they will use it to create something that they want to express. And so the idea there was that they would hopefully support their communication, hopefully develop some creativity and develop some confidence by being able to do something maybe a little bit more quickly, a little bit more easily, but still have to communicate with people in another country. So we asked the students to use various AI tools to help them in generating their videos. And they could have done that for scripting, for storyboarding, for maybe some translations even at times, to generate visuals, and even perhaps create an entire video if they decided to go that way. In reality, not many students did, because they didn't really want to pay for subscriptions to these AI tools. So they did a mixture of AI and their own work. Basically, our educational background to this is really in experiential learning and constructivist approaches, which we've already heard from Dr. Najwa as well. And in a recent paper, Alexander Sidorkin has argued that AI really now has the potential to become a permanent scaffold, not something that the learners can use once to get to a new level, but they can just continually keep using to develop their higher order cognitive skills. And I think this is a really interesting idea. So we asked our students to, of course, consider the kind of materials that they were generating through AI, and were the cultural artifacts that were coming out of their AI tools actually what they wanted to express. And so in other words, we were asking them to develop their own critical thinking. And then after they'd created their videos and we shared them amongst both countries, the students from the other country gave feedback again, which gave the students another dimension of reflection and a chance to think about what they could have done differently, how they could have said something in a more appropriate way, and so forth. So we feel that in a project like this, AI definitely has the potential to develop the sort of key leadership skills that Dr. Najwa also sort of mentioned, things like critical thinking, discernment, being able to decide what is appropriate for what they want to say, adaptability, empathy, understanding, and these kind of things. One of the Japanese students wrote something very interesting. He wrote that AI helped us make ideas clear in English, but we decided what was really us. And I think this is crucial. This is really crucial, that they take the time to use AI sensibly and reflectively to say what they want to say. So getting back to the $64 billion question, we think that embedding AI in this kind of intercultural collaboration can be a catalyst for learning and for development for students. We think that can help the students develop their creative juices, to learn about other cultures, learn how to use technology sensibly and, of course, imaginatively. And these are really important skills, I think, in the modern world. And we feel that this will make globally minded citizens who know how to communicate across cultures in a sensible way. But finally, this is pretty much the final thing I'd like to say. Whenever I think we bring AI into the classroom like this, we're raising issues of originality and authenticity. And these are really genuine concerns. And if we allow our students to simply use AI to complete tasks, then we're failing them. But if we, as the teachers, and they, as the students, can reflect upon why they're using AI and how they're using AI, this could be successful. So, you know, when a teacher helps a pupil to develop ideas or to improve some writing, for example, we would consider that to be education. And I think AI has the potential to do something similar as long as we use it sensibly rather than AI using us. All right, look, I think we're finished there, and I'd like to let Mike share some of the more recent findings we've had and just a little list of the references there. So let me stop sharing now. Thank you very much for listening, everybody.
Thank you so much, Martin. Now we would like to listen to Michael. Thank you.
Okay, give me a second. All right, so then let me key this up. All right, so hello. I think I have that up now. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, we were testing it a minute ago. So then it was a little bit ahead of its schedule. But anyway, so here we go. All right, so Martin was giving the theoretical background of what we've been doing and also some of the history of what we've been doing. And so I'm going to talk about the results of what we've been doing with this particular project, which we did last spring, spring 2025. And so I'll start out by talking about the students. So the students that we had in Japan and China were 18 to 20 years old, so they're quite young. And the Chinese students were studying international business with the goal to go to Australia. And so they had classes about 20 hours a week in English in addition to their business studies, and they were trying to pass an IELTS test by the spring, so they were really motivated with their English. And okay, so that's the Chinese students. The Japanese students were studying education at Nara University of Education, where I actually studied back in the early 90s when I was a Japanese National Scholar. And Martin teaches there now. And they wanted to be teachers in Japan. So if you're a teacher in Japan, you're speaking Japanese most of the time. Of course, you want to speak some English. They're required to do that, and they study it for many years. But proficiency to go study abroad isn't really their goal. And so you'll see this come up in some of the results, which we'll show. And so an overview of this particular AI project is we wanted them to produce short cultural videos in English. Topics were like a day in the life of a student or student life, or music in our country, so Japanese music or Chinese music that they produced themselves, or other topics related to culture and related to like the lives that we thought that they could relate to. And so this was the first time that we ever had a project where they communicated with each other in Zoom. And we wanted to do this before, but we didn't have classes scheduled at the same time. So fortunately, this year, we both had classes on Mondays at the same time, so it fit in and we did it. And we used AI support for the project. So they used it for text generation. We told them that they could produce text for their videos. They would also use it for translation, which I'll talk about in a minute. And also they used visuals. So they would produce the actual videos that they made. They didn't all do that. Some actually filmed themselves talking, but they had the option to do that. And the Chinese use Chinese AI to produce those because actually maybe they're some of the best in the world. And the Japanese used what they had at their disposal to produce the visuals. And then we exchanged them, as Martin said, and they gave peer feedback. So we had a chart there which they would look at different aspects, and then the Chinese students would evaluate the Japanese videos and vice versa. And then we would send those back and forth like we've been doing for years with these kinds of projects. And then you should see the students like light up when they get their exchange from the other countries, when they get their feedback, because it's something real, even though in the past they never actually talked to the students face to face. And so the AI was supposed to build their confidence to spread their ideas beyond their current language limits. And I'll talk about that in a minute and show how that worked. And so the results that we have is it improved their communication and their empathy, how they felt towards the people from the other country, in addition to their confidence. And so if we move forward, here you can see this is the first Zoom meeting that we had. And of course, we had them do these ethical forums to agree to use them. And then I actually had this group, their WeChat. It's like a WhatsApp on steroids. It's a Chinese WhatsApp system. And so I sent them a message because I thought the pictures would be great. And I said, "Is it okay if I use the pictures?" I said, "Yeah, great." Right? And I sent the pictures because I took them. And here you can see the students, and you can see how they're so engaged with the computers. And they've got their phones out, and what they're doing is they're translating what they're going to say. So you can see the one student is talking to the Japanese students, and the other ones are figuring out what they're going to say next. okay, using AI on their phones. Okay, so utilizing the skills in real time, and you can look at them thinking, and you can see how interested they are in that. And so this builds leadership through intercultural collaboration, because this is about AI and leadership. So these days there's all kinds of international projects going on, and even if you're a English teacher or a teacher in rural Japan, you still do these things sometimes. They have foreign teachers working in the schools, and so this intercultural communication builds leadership. And so we ask them different questions. And so the first thing is, have you worked with people from other countries before? And there you can see the answer is no. The Chinese in person was 20%, and then some of them had online friends, about 10%, and then the rest, like 65%, had never met people from other countries. Japanese the same, except they didn't have the online connections, so it's 75% for the Japanese. So this is a very new thing that they did. And so then we ask, do you feel confident when confident when communicating with people from other countries? Okay, and there you can see the pre-project. Okay, so here we ask before the project and after the project. So in the pre-project one, you can see the Chinese are more confident, probably because they've been studying English 20 hours a week, right? And you can see the Japanese are more spread out. But then you can see in the post-project, it goes up for both. The Japanese, for some reason, the strongly agree goes down a bit, but the agree and neither agree or disagree goes up substantially, right? And so you can see the positive aspect that the communication with the people from the other countries had. Okay, and then one of the things that we thought, like Martin put forward, is that student access to AI to lead. How can it help them lead? And so the creative processes and thinking across culture helps people lead, and also utilizing technology these days responsibly and imaginatively. So you have these different aspects of leadership which filter into the projects like this. Okay, so then we ask them, have you used AI to create text or images before? And there you can see the Chinese had done it a bit more, Japanese a bit less, but the post project, they all had done it a lot. So you see that they were using this AI for the first time in large numbers. Okay, so then I'm confident in using digital tools to create a presentation or video. And you can see in the beginning, the Japanese uh, are quite low in this, right? Not confident, as are the Chinese. And you can see in the post project, they feel a lot more confident, okay, in both incidences. And then how do you detect whether images are made by AI, fake news, for example? And there you can see in the beginning how they're spread out. And then in the second one, post project, they're much more confident in spotting like AI projects which happen, right? You see these all the time, and you're not sure if it's real or not. Okay. And so then I'm confident in using English in conversations with international peers. This gets back to the English that we were talking about before. And you can see the Chinese are spread out and the Japanese are spread out, and some are quite low there because they don't think they have the skills. But you can see afterwards, especially for the Japanese, this really helped build their confidence because we talked about how this helps them build their confidence. And you can't be a leader unless you're confident. So that's leadership skills. Because a lot of being a leader is just being confident to get people to motivate people and motivate yourself for real leaders, right? And so you can see how a project like this builds their confidence, right? Okay, so the post project, we only asked this one post project. So I now understand how AI can be used to help me learn, not just to complete tasks better than I started before in the project. And there you can see that's very high for the Chinese and also for the Japanese. So they don't look at AI like I'm going to just get Chat GPT to write my paper for me, right? There they think it'll help me, right? It helps them ask the questions, but they've got to come up with the question in Chinese, right? Or whatever they're trying to do, or edit the questions or edit the scripts. Okay, my opinion of AI has become more positive because of the project. And there you can see the Chinese agree with that. The Japanese also agree with this, right? So before they were probably apprehensive, right? They didn't know, what is AI? I've heard about AI, right? What is this actually? And then when they're actually able to use this in class, collaborating with a group of other students and also the students in the other countries, then it becomes something real and not just something you're trying to teach out of a textbook. And so their opinion of AI becomes much better. Okay, so then another thing that we did, as we've always done, and as we ask student comments, and we ask them, we give them like certain bullet points that they have to add, they have to answer about, but also they have the freedom to do it as they like. And so mine sometimes would write in paragraphs because they were practicing for an IELTS test, right? But they could answer each question separately, which they also do sometimes. So here you have this, the most important lesson I've learned is to treat people sincerely and do everything well with serious and positive attitude. So that's this empathy we were talking about. And then during the process of this project, artificial intelligence has both helped me and presented me with challenges. The help was that it translated many new words for me and provided me with ideas for the project. While the challenge was that I needed to think about how to maximize its role and make it add luster to our videos. So there you can see that they were using it for translating and for ideas for the project, but then they could see the deficiencies when they thought about it. And they thought like, well, what did that say really doesn't explain what I'm trying to say in Chinese about some musical artist or about some period of Chinese history or about some famous tourist site. And so then they had to edit what they got from the AI. So it wasn't just AI writing the project for them. So it got them thinking, which was the whole point of the project in the first place. And so for conclusion, so integrating AI and intercultural virtual exchange can enhance learning. And as Martin said at the beginning, it enhanced their learning and didn't take over their learning, or they weren't just like using AI to do everything for them. It built a lot of leadership skills. They had to figure out who did what in the groups that they were dealing with. One of the groups about student life agreed, the Japanese and the Chinese agreed, and instead of using AI, they filmed what they were doing every day on campus. They filmed the cafeteria, they filmed waking up in the morning. Many of the Japanese had part-time jobs, which they talked about. Chinese students don't do part-time jobs usually, which is very different than Americans or people from Finland or people from different countries, but they usually only study. It's very rare to find one that has a part-time job. So they learn about these things firsthand from the people from the other countries and helping with that. The collaboration, of course, is between the groups, your group in your own country, but also the group in the other country, because we matched them up. So when they had their Zoom groups, the people that did music talked to the people that did music, and the people that did historic sites talked about the people from historic sites, and the people that did sports talked about the people that talked to the people who did sports. And then one of the most important things is to make it fun. So the students really like this, and you can just see how it makes it fun. And so here you can see these boys, and these boys, they sit in the back of the classroom, and oftentimes they're sleeping or playing on their phones. And you can see here from the picture how interested they are. And this is in the first Zoom meeting where I showed the girls at the beginning. And so you can see the one guy's talking into his phone. So he's telling it in Chinese and it'll give him the answer in English and then he'll talk to the Japanese while the other guy's smiling and talking to them. And you can see how interested they are there. So they think it's fun. And here's like a picture of the second Zoom meeting. And what do you notice from the picture? Where are their phones? So they're not using their phones to translate there. They're more confident because they realize that their English skills are enough to just talk to them. And you can see the same boys in the back row laughing, right, and telling jokes. You can see the work they're thinking. You can see the girls smiling and talking to them and showing interest. And so that's the point of the project. And that's how AI built leadership in what we were doing. So I'm going to cut this off and turn it back to the main audience. Thank you very much. And I look forward to any questions you may have.
Thank you so much, Michael, and thanks again to Martin for this very insightful project. We would love to see such projects between other countries, not only Japan and China, because I loved how also this project was not only developing the leadership skills of students. I saw them engaged, which is very much needed in the classroom today, how the students are engaged when they are learning. And the empathy is very important in multicultural settings. So this is, I wish to see this project extended to other countries. Thank you so much. Now,
Muriel,
yeah?
we would also like to expand this to other places too. So if anybody's interested, please do get in touch with us.
Yes,
of course.
yes, I am.
In the past, we've done this with Spain and Russia, but not what we're doing now. But this is when we were just sending videos without Zoom meetings and things like that, or AI.
Oh, so this is not your first. This is not your first exchange project. This is the second.
No, we've been doing this for several years now, and slowly developing it, making it more functional, adding more digital tools to it, trying to make it more interesting. Look, I didn't ask my students for permission to show photographs, but I could have shown very similar photographs to the ones that Mike showed you.
Yeah.
What's important, I think, about their faces and how happy they were is that there is a lot of enmity between Japan and China, right? There's a lot of anger between these two countries. Again, Mike didn't show this particular data, but we do ask them questions about their impressions of the other country, and these always improve greatly. And just the fact that I think they have a chance to talk to somebody from that other country and not just look at the news or read something in the newspaper and find out that they're just kids and they've got similar interests and similar problems. This is really important for them. Sorry, I'm going away from AI here for a moment, but
no problem. We would love to hear more about this project. However, I would like to ask the audience if they have any questions, because I have questions to our panelists if they don't. Any questions? You can please type them in the chat or open your microphone to ask us. Feel free. In the meantime, I have a question to Prof. Faris. Based on your presentation, how can educators ensure students critically evaluate AI-generated content?
Oh, yeah. Thank you for this question. This is very, very important, and it is at the heart of what we are doing. If you still remember, we said that our concerns when we use the AI tools is that not to replace the student's voice, identity, but to complement, like to assist. And that's why I use it as co-constructor of knowledge. In fact, I did not mention this in my intervention because the presentation, you told me 8 minutes and I was trying to read time.
I'm sorry.
So generally, before I started, to inform the students about what they know about AI and to what extent we can trust AI, what tools they use. Now, definitely the most common tool they were using is the ChatGPT. But I had to educate them about what the ChatGPT, what it can do, what it cannot do, and about the hallucinations that we might see in that AI, and the importance of having, to engineer your prompt to get what you really want. And even with prompt engineering, probably the output not necessarily fits what we really want, or it is accurate, as accurate as we wanted. For that reason, I had to tell them that the AI there should be treated as source, like any source we can see online. We need to evaluate. Like you cannot get anything online and you incorporate in your own writing before you really evaluate according to accuracy. Does it make sense? Logic, to what extent it is contradicting with other resources, to what extent it aligns with our context, what it is saying, and so on. So all of this, having this in mind, so when they engineered their prompt to get feedback on their research proposals or their resume, they had to look at that output and evaluate. To what extent does it make sense? The reference is what we studied in class, the reading materials, the feedback they got from the students, the feedback they got from me, and then they have to make up their minds. Yes, does it align with it or no? And usually such decisions are written down in research law. So usually they write, we took this from that output because 1, 2, 3, or we are not taking it because 1, 2, 3. And here I felt like what extent students were learning and they know exactly what we are doing. So for example, one of the examples, let's say, one of my students said, like in the AI instructed or gave feedback like you should include your methodology in the A. I did not tell them that because the methodology should be a separate section. So she said, no, okay, I'll keep the aim as it is, but I'm going to dwell on my methodology in the methodology section as you instructed us. So this shows that the students were critically evaluating this. And throughout the process, all the process, we want the students to get to look at the AI as not what it does, what it says, but I have to interrogate its accuracy, to what extent it's making sense to me, it's critical, and not to replace me because I am the one who should decide whether this is right, wrong, logical, or illogical. So with time, I think we can develop this mindset among the students because the first attempt, definitely the student tried to cheat. I mean, they had to present AI completely generated content. So once you say, this is a red flag, so they knew that they cannot escape it, and they learned that to use it as a tool, which I'm really happy that now they are using it, and they want to transfer even that skill beyond my course to reach their senior projects.
Yeah,
Thank
exactly.
you so much. I have another question to Professors Garant and Parsons. What strategies help maintain intercultural authenticity when using AI, which is not easy to do?
Yeah.
I think.
No. Well, I think we've just heard a lot from, Professor Najwa about that kind of thing too. Mike, do you want to say something, or shall I say
I'll
something?
say a little bit, and then you can see if you can add anything to it. Like one of the things that I saw from the Chinese made a music video, and there you could see a lot of AI, and they showed like people playing these traditional Chinese instruments from like the Song Dynasty, with the clothes from the Song Dynasty, and and they're explaining it, and then it transitioned into like a modern like an idol, like a Japanese or Chinese or Korean idol, right? Idols like these guys. And then he was doing that, but embedded in there was kung fu and the traditional instruments and the traditional art. So he was showing like instead of like, I don't know, some American rap band where there's nothing in their historical, that's intertwined in at least some of the Chinese idol stuff, right? It's not all new, flashy, which is kind of interesting. And then that's how you would put the culture into it, the embedded culture. So they weren't just trying to show like this is the idol and he's the most famous person, but everything he does is something like breaking the total mold. What they showed was like this is an idol, but also embedded in with him is this traditional Chinese culture, which has been going on for 5,000 years. Right?
Yeah.
And you see this in both of the strategies from some of the better videos that they make using AI.
Yeah, there's a couple of other things that occurred to me too. One of them we've just heard a lot about already, But I think it's important that so can I back up just a little bit? When AI was first rolling out, and even things like Google Translate, I was actually starting to think, what's my role? Do I actually have a job anymore? Is there any reason for me to be here? And I think we've just heard from Professor Najwa and also from our case that how important having someone like the teacher in the room is, who is reminding the students regularly about what they're trying to do. And this is the strategy. I think one strategy is that we will keep talking to them regularly about making it very clear to them that they're trying to, what can I say, amplify their own voice rather than have their voice be replaced by some machine. We're trying to use this as a tool to improve and not to replace things. And another one, I think, and really useful strategy might be transparency. And by that, and I know you've been doing that, you've told us about how you check all their writing and so forth. In our most recent exchange, we've been asking our students to keep a log of the kind of AI tools they use, what they use them for, to show us some of the prompts. And this is another, I think, a reflective process for them, that they can also go back and look at this and say, well, hang on, this is what I did, and this is how I did it. And this is how I negotiated issues that came up. So it's these kind of things. It's just, I think the strategies really come down to keeping the students aware of what they're doing and why and what they're trying to achieve. At least that's what I think.
Okay, thank you so much. Any other question from the audience? We still have 9 minutes left. I'll just jump to some recommendations, and if you have any additions to say, Dr. Najwa, Dr. Martin, or Dr. Michael, I would love also to get your additions. So based on our contributions today, our first recommendation is to integrate AI explicitly into curricula. So as, an assistive tool, and of course, not as a replacement tool like you all highlighted that. To support faculty professional development in using AI, how they can, for example, we need as faculty members training on the current AI tools and maybe the future AI tools that may emerge. To foster human collaboration models, like now, for example, Dr. Najwa said, we start with the students, they use AI, and then they evaluate AI before submitting their assignments or projects. Strengthen policies on ethical AI use. We're using AI at universities, but I think many universities worldwide, they don't have policies on how to use AI, and on the percentage, for example, maybe on that allows the use of AI. Promoting intercultural and cross-institutional AI projects, like similar to the Japan-China collaboration of Drs. Martins and Garant. Equip students with metacognitive and leadership skills, teaching them to reflect on their decision-making, evaluate AI critically, and assume ownership of creative processes, as stressed by Dr. Najwa. And last but not least, we need to evaluate and research AI's impact continuously by creating institutional evaluation loops and publishing findings to encourage evidence-based innovation. Any additions from your side?
Yeah, you did great, Marel, by summarizing these things. But what I really want to highlight is the training that should be done to faculty. From my point of view, my experience, it was initiated by me. Nobody, assisted me. I wasn't trained, but it is like because I am the curious educator who want to keep up with, education and the pace. I felt like if I deprive my students from AI, then I'm not preparing them for the 21st century to survive in the workplace. So I had to venture into AI. So when I incorporated the AI in my class, it was really experimentation. Literally, I was learning, finding out my way with them and see how it works. Because the first time I didn't know about their attitude. And I started with the free version because I cannot ask the students to subscribe because we have some financial difficulties among our students back in Lebanon. So I was venturing into the free version, and I was really surprised that my students were using the AI before me, but in fact, they were not using it properly. And one of my students told me, thank you for letting us to use it because, you were smart enough to do this. Because if you don't, then you knew already that we're going to use it no matter what. But instead of doing it unethically, you taught us how to use it properly because they were using to cite that AI. Everything they were using, they were citing as any other source. And as Dr. Martin just said, it is the transparency, the log, keeping log. What I took, they used to share with me all the input and the output to see and evaluate at the beginning, because this is very, very important to me. So this is, we need to instill, we should not still, I feel like some faculty members still shun away from using the AI in classrooms. They don't want to go into that, but I think this is, it's a must nowadays. It's a must, and we need to keep pace with the changes that are taking place in the AI, because we don't know what's going to happen also in the coming years. So as you said, we need to keep all the time evaluating and learning.
Yeah, I think that's a really crucial point. I was looking for this in my desk a moment ago. I'm old enough to remember when the electronic calculator came out. We weren't allowed to use them in school. And I can tell you that in my own case with the students we've just been talking about, they're not allowed to use AI at their university. And that's almost the same as a teacher saying you can't use this. It's there, they're going to use it. If we don't help them and give them some direction, it could go really, really, really wrong. Listen, I want to ask a quick question. You mentioned this ATS screening for their writing. What exactly is that?
It is the applicant training system. This is like usually it screen resumes. So the resume must have certain keywords format in order to pass to a human, because nowadays all applicants, when they submit their resumes, it is the ATS screening system that to check it whether it applies or not in terms of formatting, keywords, aligning it with the job description, font type, the keywords, the skills that the employer is looking for. So if this resume matches what the ATS, it is ATS friendly, then it is passed to a human recruiter. Then the human recruiter would look into that and then go into the interview process. So sometimes the best candidate cannot get the job because his or her resume is not ATS friendly. And probably this is what happens with a lot of us if you apply to jobs, if your resume is not really ATS friendly.
I see, I understand. Thank you very much, because I hadn't heard of that before. Look, the other thing I would like to
in Barcelona, I presented this in Barcelona about resume optimizing at the IAFOR Barcelona conference. And it was well received because people did not know about it. I didn't know about it before. So yes, that's why we have to keep getting our knowledge to be able to teach our students.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And you said this, I think, Dr. Al-Haj, that, we need institutional support. And whenever I go to a conference and I talk to other people, everybody's feeling the same way.
Yeah.
If we're having to learn everything, and especially I'm a little bit older, so it's harder for me to learn these new skills. And
we're doing better than the young, but I believe.
But we need
the curiosity that we have.
we all need help, and that's really important.
I do.
Yeah. I guess often it seems to me, I might be wrong in saying this, that educational institutions are usually a little bit behind trends in wider society, and we're always sort of catching up. And I would like our I don't know, our administrators to catch up a bit more quickly.
Yes.
I think they should insert these very timely topics as initiatives in their strategic plan as institutions.
Yeah.
So in order to implement them, this is becoming very important, to just have at least some strategic initiatives and goals related to AI and training. So yeah. We still have 38 seconds. We still have 35 seconds. I would like to thank you again. Really, thank you so much for your contributions today. Dr. Michael, Dr. Martin, and Dr. Najwa, I hope to see you again, maybe next year. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure. Thank you very much.
It was a pleasure to meet you.
I enjoyed it a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
thank you.
about future collaborations. Thank you.
Yes, I look forward to that. I look forward
to
that.
Be in touch. Yeah, be in touch. See you.
Yes.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
2, 1.
Bye.
See you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.